British people typically don't like to talk about money, and they never want to talk about death. And that makes inheritance a very tricky subject. But like it or not, the UK is about to experience the largest ever transfer of wealth between generations. By some estimates, over £1.2 trillion of assets will change hands over the next decade, so this topic isn't going away. Now, if you watch the channel regularly, you know I'm an architect, and you might be wondering what inheritance has to do with design or construction. Well, the reason I'm interested is that the most lucrative asset passed on from the older generation will be their homes. In this video, I'm going to discuss 3 distinct options you have if you inherit a home in the UK. I'm not offering financial or tax planning advice. I'm looking at what might happen if the average person in the UK inherits an average house. Will this solve all their problems? The average inheritance in the UK. That £1.2 trillion of inheritance equals just over £17,600 for every person in the UK. But we all know it's not going to be distributed evenly. Some people will get nothing and others will inherit millions. For the purpose of this video, I need to set some ground rules. First off, let's call our subject Dave. It always helps to have a name to make it seem realistic. I'm going to assume Dave earns the average UK salary. That's £37,430 per year. I assume Dave currently owns a property with a mortgage and has £100,000 of equity in that home. And I assume Dave will inherit a property worth the average house price, that is £282,000. Now, I know you could pick holes with my figures. Inheritances are often split between siblings. Many people expect the cost of care homes to swallow up any inheritance, and everyone's financial story is different. But we need to start somewhere. Taken on its own, Dave's salary with no other source of funds would not be enough to do any kind of construction. He is unlikely to ever have enough money to seriously entertain the possibility of renovating, extending, or building a home without financial help from somewhere. And that's why the upcoming wealth transfer is so important. It's possible that a huge number of people in the UK will suddenly find they can afford to do serious construction, but they have no knowledge or experience. That's where I come in. I see this every week during my online consultations, and I'm going to look at 3 scenarios which I believe are realistic. I've run my own architecture practice in Edinburgh, altering, extending and building homes for over 16 years, so I know what it takes to do this type of work. First off, what if Dave sells his own home and moves into his late parents' house? What will it cost to renovate that property? Second, what if Dave sells his parents' house and uses the money to extend his own home? Finally, Dave sells both properties and decides to self-build his dream home. Is that feasible? There are timestamps below if you want to skip ahead. Let's get started. What it costs to renovate a house in the UK. Dave's parents' house is larger than his current home. He doesn't need to enlarge his parents' house, it just needs an upgrade. So Dave sells his own home, which has £100,000 of equity, and uses that money to work on his late parents' house. There are 2 ways of going about this: renovation or alteration. He could keep the existing layout and upgrade the fabric of the house. New kitchen units, updating the bathrooms, rewiring, new heating, new windows, maybe adding solar panels or insulation. Dave could also start knocking down internal walls and moving things around to change the layout. In an ideal world, he would like to do both renovation and alteration, but how far will his £100,000 go? The answer is not as far as you think. Take this project for example. It's a detached 1970s house in Edinburgh. I redesigned the interior and we recently got 2 builders to price the work. Both contractors are small firms, each run by one guy with a couple of staff. I worked with one of the builders to create this project last year, and the other builder recently finished a project for the client's brother. The job isn't that large or complex. The house is on a steep slope and is split level. All the new work is highlighted in yellow and the demolitions are shown as thin dashed red lines. We are lowering the floor in the vestibule and widening the doorway to create a nicer entrance. Building a new shower room on this floor, moving the boiler to the upper floor, and making this landing deeper with a roof light to create a larger workspace. The design also includes replacing the 1970s timber balustrade with a glass barrier, fitting a larger roof access hatch, and making this rear window bigger. In this project, the contractor is carrying out all the new plumbing, drainage and electrics, as well as supplying the new glazing, bathroom fittings, flooring, tiles and decoration. The difference in price between each of the contractors was just £3,000, which means the specification is accurate and the prices are broadly correct. If there was a larger difference in price between each contractor, it means something is wrong, either with my drawings and specifications or with the contractor's price. The prices for this work came in at £121,000 and £124,000 plus VAT, and I think that's a fair reflection of the cost of internal works in the UK at present. Keep in mind the older the building, the more problems it will have, and the higher the cost of any work to that property. Aside from suburban home extensions, about half my projects are renovations to older listed buildings, like this one. While I can't share the exact cost of this project, I will say that if you inherit a Georgian townhouse or Victorian villa and you want to renovate it, say rewiring, new heating systems, upgrade to the windows, repairs to the roof, redecorate the house, this could cost easily the same amount of money as buying the average house in the UK. If you want to combine that renovation with changing the internal layout, say creating a new stair, adding more bathrooms, moving the kitchen to a larger room, that cost could easily double. So upwards of £500,000 plus VAT to substantially change and renovate a large older property. And even then, you will probably need to compromise on the quality of fixtures and fittings. If you are thinking about renovating an older property, you should check out the sponsor of today's video. Procter Group are a leading provider of high-performance breathable and airtight membranes for the UK construction industry. They also supply Space Therm aerogel insulation, and I made a feature video about this unique product, which is thinner than any other type of insulation available in the UK today. Procter Group provide excellent technical advice and guidance to anyone interested in using their products, and I am very happy to have them as a partner for the channel. If you are renovating, extending, or self-building a home in the UK today, you need to check out Procter Group. There's a link in the description if you want to learn more. What it costs to extend a house in the UK. So our friend Dave has decided against renovating his late parents' house, and instead he sells it to fund an extension to his own home. He gets the average price for a house in the UK, £282,000, and sets about planning a house extension. How much can he get for his money? Extensions can be relatively simple if they are just stuck onto the existing house, but that doesn't work for everyone. In my experience, most clients need to make changes to the layout of their house as well as increase its space. But let's keep it simple. Let's say Dave just wants a nice sunroom like this project I mentioned earlier. I made a full video about the cost of this project a few months back, and it works out at £5,200 plus VAT per square metre, so Dave could afford this as it cost just over £150,000 plus VAT. Last year, I made another video looking in detail at the cost of this project, which worked out at around £3,500 plus VAT per square metre. That is the current going rate for most regular extensions in the UK today. At that price, you're not getting anything fancy, just a competent but otherwise unremarkable building. If you want a zinc roof, natural stone, Siberian larch, underfloor heating, aluminium frame glazing, high-end kitchen units, bespoke skylights and exposed structural beams, get ready to pay upwards of £6,000 plus VAT per square metre. This is another one of my projects, and I posted about it a few months back. I've put a link in the description to all of these videos so you can check them out in your own time. Keep in mind that square metre rates are very crude and they do not cover the cost of altering or renovating inside an existing house. Every project is different, and if you are looking for advice about this, you can book a consultation with me on the reallifearchitecture.co.uk website. Follow the link in the description. Just make sure to read the terms and conditions before you book. What it costs to build a house in the UK. So Dave decides to sell both his late parents' house and his own home to raise funds for a new one-off house. Will he have enough money for a grand design project? His parents' house raises £282,000 and his own home has £100,000 of equity, so he now has £382,000. The cost of sites for new houses vary massively across the UK. Where I live in Fife, it's about £100,000 for a site with planning permission, but it can cost multiples of that sum in other parts of the UK. I should also say that buying land without planning permission is extremely risky and best left to full-time property developers. If you have never done this before, it's usually best to pay the premium and buy land with planning. If the site has outline planning or planning in principle, it will still need a full planning application, and it is possible for this to be refused, so always take professional advice from a surveyor, planning consultant or architect before buying land. Now back to Dave. Let's assume he can buy a site with full planning approval for £100,000. He still has £282,000 left over. What will that get him? I recently spoke to a professional colleague who works with small property developers near where I live. These guys are building a development of 15 houses, and it works out at around £1,700 per square metre for a basic standard of finish. Building 15 houses at a time is more efficient than building one. The builder will get materials at reduced cost because they can buy in bulk. They're probably saving at least 10% by doing this. You also need to keep in mind that a builder will want to make a profit margin of at least 15% if you hire them to build a house for you. So if you plan to build a one-off house in the UK, assuming its design is fairly conventional, and you employ a builder to carry out the work, then you should plan to pay at least £2,100 per square metre. Dave's £282,000 budget would translate to a 134 square metre house. That's a 4-bedroom home, depending on the internal layout. I would not encourage Dave to self-build a house unless he has relevant construction experience. For most people, the only realistic option is to employ a contractor to build the house. Of course, Dave could increase his budget by getting a self-build mortgage. And with such a large cash deposit and the ability to buy the site up front, he is in a good position to do this. A few years back, I interviewed Patrick Cannon, a mortgage advisor, about the ins and outs of self-build mortgages. There's a lot more to this than you might expect, and the discussion exposed why it's so rare for people to build their own homes in the UK. If you are serious about building a house, you should check out the video. I've put a link in the description. At this point, you might be crunching the numbers and wondering if £2,100 per square metre makes it economical to build a house compared to just buying an existing home. I think it depends on where you are in the UK, because the places with lower land prices also tend to have lower house prices, but the cost of construction doesn't vary much across the country. So if the cost of building a house is more per square metre than the sale price of a home in the same area, it's usually not worth building. Even though you won't pay VAT on a new built house compared to altering an existing home, I don't think the upcoming wealth transfer will lead the UK into a self-build boom. It may increase the number of people who give it a go, but the costs are often too high to justify it, and that's before you start looking at the odds of getting planning permission. However, I do think there will be a surge of house extensions off the back of this. If you get an inheritance equal to the value of an average house, that will go a long way to funding an extension. My name is Neil, and if you need my advice about your project, no matter where it is in the UK, check out the reallifearchitecture.co.uk website. You can book a consultation with me and get specific advice about your property. And if you found this video useful, check out this playlist and be sure to drop a like. It really helps the channel.